What is up guys, Dan the Marketing Man here. I'm back for another video and today we're talking about sales. This is the one skill that took my agency from zero to $260,000 in the first 12 months. And so this is why it's my favorite topic, because this is where my background is. But more importantly, we got a DM on Instagram from one of my students, Tim. He says, "Hey Dan, loving the content, super valuable as always. I had a question about inbound versus outbound marketing. Whenever I run ads on Facebook, I see the close rate is much higher than traditional methods like cold calling, social media outreach, and cold email. Can you give any input on this? Keep killing it." All right, cool. Well, thank you for that question, but there is a huge difference between inbound and outbound. I talked to quite a lot of salespeople about, just the types of calls that come in. Why are some better than others? Or why would you do this method when this method is so much easier? So if you guys are still watching, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell because it's free and it really helps me. Let's move on. All right, cool. So if you guys are watching this video, welcome to the channel if it's your first time. If it's not your first time, chances are you've actually seen my videos in the past where I do cold calling. Okay, I'm not one of those gurus who just teaches something and then they're like, okay, let's see if it works. I've actually done every single thing that I teach. Okay, I've documented my agency from day one, and one of the things that helped me get my first deal ever in 2 days was cold calling. Okay, and there's a lot of controversy over cold calling. Some people love it, some people hate it, and that's the nature of this video. I want to talk about why cold calling is still the quickest way to get your first client and some of the things that are going to help us get there. So I just want to kind of change your perspective on inbound versus outbound. Let's start with this outbound idea, right? So cold calling, we're just gonna use my whiteboard here. Oops. So let's talk about cold calling here for a second, because why is it so effective? You're one person talking to one person. They're not seeing an ad. You have an opportunity to kind of sway them, right? To persuade them, capture interest on the phone. That's why it's one of the best methods to use. I'm just going to use an example of what I did when I first started with cold calling. So there's really only one task for any appointment setter that you may hire in the future, or even just cold calling in general. Let's get into some numbers really quick. I know, because I've done it for so long, that if I dial 100 numbers, that on average I'll probably get 2 to 3 good appointments. And I probably shouldn't even say good appointments. They're just opportunities really to get in front of the decision maker and capture just enough interest to get them on the sales call. And you guys can look this up too. Feel free to Google that. That is an average conversion rate on a cold call. So if you're going to do 100 dials, you're probably going to end up with 2 to 3 people who are interested. So when you're first starting, it's important that you grind out this cold calling as much as possible, as long as you can go, because you will get burnt out. I would rather you put your energy into the 2 to 3 opportunities that you have with the decision maker to try to, again, capture their interest, send some information, and schedule a sales call. So let's go further into the numbers really quick. If we were going to do 2 to 3 appointments per day, 5 days a week, let's just say we're going to end the week with 10 interested people per week. And if you guys do this for a full month, you'll end up with 40. So we're going to end up with 40 apps per month. This is solid if you're just starting and you're one person, because this is what I was doing when I was first starting. And the numbers are going to make sense to you in a second, but basically we're talking about 10 interested people per week, 40 appointments, right? Because they're not actually sales calls, they're just interested people that we're going to follow up with. How many of those are actually going to show up? We're talking 40. How many will probably show up? 50%. Half of them are going to show up, because the other half, they're not going to show up. They're going to be upset. They're going to be like, oh, what the heck is this? Wait, is this a sales call? Blah, blah, blah. So we're going to end up with 20 sales opportunities from cold calling per month. Okay, sales calls. So if you're a decent salesperson with this number of 20, you're going to end the month with about 2 to 3 new clients. And if you're doing high ticket SMMA, which I was doing in the beginning, this is going to be perfectly fine to do as one person, because you can easily manage 2 to 3 clients per month. That doesn't take a lot of time. When I was first starting, I was only doing 100 dials in an hour for literally 1 hour a day. Like, you guys can go back to my early cold calling videos. I wasn't cold calling on YouTube because I wanted to start a channel. I was afraid of the phone. So I had to literally sit there with the laptop, record myself, and do this to get over the fear, because that made it more bearable. It helped me get through it, just recording myself, keeping myself accountable. 2 to 3 high ticket deals. At that point, I was actually charging $2,500 for like the minimum deal. I closed my first deal in 2 days. Call number 1, on the first day, spoke to the decision maker right on the cold call. Day 2, closed them for $2,500. It was insane, and I never looked back. I never tried to do drop shipping, Amazon FBA, any of these other make money online methods. SMMA was really where it was at for me. Also because I have a sales background, so it was much easier for me to do this type of work. But anyways, not to get too off topic, let's get back to this because I want to kind of expand. Now, let's say if we were going to consistently do this with an appointment setter, this is probably going to run you about $250 per week, and they're going to get you 10 appointments, like all the math that we're doing here. Again, if you have 2 to 3 high ticket clients like per month, you guys can easily afford that, and I recommend doing that once you get the skill though, because you have to be able to train them and show them what they're doing wrong if they're doing anything wrong. But once you hire them, it's going to look something like this. If they're calling somebody, this is basically going to be like the owner up here. We're going to have the gatekeeper over here, the person that actually answers the phone. And then we're going to have the decision maker. So let's say your appointment setter schedules a time for you to call back this business. So now you're going to get those 2 to 3 opportunities, right, that we outlined over here, these 2 to 3 opportunities. That's going to be the chance for you to speak to the decision maker. So you call them, hey, this is Dan. I had a meeting with XYZ person at this time. Yeah, I don't see that on the list here. Okay, well, my assistant spoke to this person yesterday, the gatekeeper, and they scheduled a time with this person, decision maker, at this time. Do you guys not keep track of your appointments? And you want to kind of put them on their heels a little bit. Like, oh my God, okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to check right now. And that's when you get the opportunity to speak to the decision maker. So now that we've gotten here, now what? What happens on this call? Because he's about to get on the phone. So what happens now? You're going to do the exact same thing that your appointment setter did on these 100 dials. The exact same thing. But here's the thing. Instead of speaking to a gatekeeper this time, you're going to speak to the decision maker. And that's enough to get through. You guys have seen my cold calling videos. Okay, if you're actually speaking to the decision maker, you can get quite a lot of interested people. So that's why we did the math on if we get 10 appointments per week, that probably half of them will actually turn into sales calls. And now let me stop right here because I already know a lot of people are like, man, I don't want to do all that. Why would I do all these like dials? That seems like a lot. To that I say, do you suck? Because when I started my agency, there was no inbound Facebook ads. There was no Google ads. It was, here's the phone, get a client. It's not really that the method is bad. It's actually your lack of skill, because I did this to $150,000. I never even ran a single inbound ad campaign until I had already hit $150,000 in revenue from cold calling. So that's why this method is actually scalable. Typically, if we want to like scale it up, I would probably do like 4 cold callers for every 1 salesperson. That's probably a good amount. At that point, they're going to be working with like 8 to 12 apps every single day. And by apps, again, I'm just saying like interested people, because then we call those people for the call number 1. Hey, decision maker, are you interested in this opportunity? The ones that say yes, those turn into call number 2s or the sales call. So for outbound stuff, we do 2 call closes. For inbound stuff, we do 1 call close, because those are just 10 times easier to close. You guys are gonna have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit, get some phone skills, because when you do, you'll be unstoppable when you get the inbound leads. We were unstoppable when we started running ads because we already had the phone skills to back that up. So if you guys wanna do this, you guys can kind of do the math like this and scale it up from there. If I want to get 10 clients, what do I got to do? That's why we kind of do 4 to every 1, because if we're just doing this as 1 appointment setter / salesperson, right, as 1 appointment setter, we can get 2 to 3 clients per month. So now if we do 4, we're talking 8 to 12 deals every single month. And at that point, you can afford a team like that. So again, I want you guys to really focus on the skill, not the method of cold calling. So that's basically the difference versus inbound versus outbound, right? Because instead of like clicking on a Facebook ad that they were already interested, they see all your social proof, they see all your video sales letters, they're pre-sold before the call, they set the appointment reminders, and then they get on the call and they're already basically like, yeah, I mean, this is something I'm in the market for, it's something I want to do. For outbound, you're literally talking to them for the first time and something that they didn't even ask you about. It's like, hey, are you interested in maybe doing X, Y, and Z? Okay, yeah, I'll go to the next step. So for outbound, it's all about getting them to that next step of the funnel. So the first step is awareness. We want them to know who we are with the cold call. Hey, I'll be quick. My name is Dan. I was just calling because I wanted to see if you guys could take some of my referrals. It depends what it is. Yeah, well, I'll be quick. Like I said, I actually do a lot of network marketing in XYZ state, and I'm looking for XYZ, and we help XYZ people. Insert your script here. You guys have seen me do the cold calls. That's basically the gist of it. But my objective is what? Get them to the next step. Awareness. What the heck? Who's this guy calling? Okay, well, yeah, sure, I'll give you my email. Send them the email. What's the next step now? Awareness, and then we're getting to interest now. So, okay, now I'm interested. Well, let me see more. Okay, let's get on the sales call. And then again, just next step, next step, next step. Versus like inbound leads are just like, sign right there. You know, they're way easier to close. So I hope this math was helpful. I just wanted to break it down as best as I could because it's a little bit hard for some people to understand. It's almost like a controversial topic, which it really shouldn't be. If you're not that good at sales, maybe you should get some phone skills, because I've talked to a lot of agency owners and salespeople that are like, why would I do this when I could just do inbound leads? It doesn't make any sense. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, by the way. We do that, of course, too. And it is 10 times easier. Why wouldn't you do that? But at the same time, why sleep on this method that made me multiple six figures in my first year? It doesn't even cost a fraction of what ads cost you. And I don't want to get too off topic, but this goes into another conversation too, which is like, your perspective. It's like, oh, I'm too good for that. Okay, prove it. If something's beneath you, you should be able to perfect it in every way. All right, guys, that's the end of this video. Hopefully that was really helpful for you. I just, like I said, wanted to break it down, give you guys some numbers and make it all make sense. But there is a huge difference between outbound versus inbound. So this is essentially the bird's eye view of how to master the art of outbound sales. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe, hit the bell because it's free and it really helps me. With that being said, I'll see you guys when I see you guys.